Let the dragon consume you! Enemy sighted. Stop the payload! Stop the payload! In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Birdwatcher's back at it one more time. Here's your host, Ryan and Clay. They're about to bring you some sweet Overwatch action.
All right, welcome back to what is going to be a very special ATL Academy exclusive episode. Pretty excited, Ryan.
Yeah, man. Playoffs. Contenders season 3 has been insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I've enjoyed most of the seasons, especially like when Runaway beat Kungdo, Panthera, and all that. But this one overall, I think game to game, regular season, and the playoffs has just been absolutely insane for all regions.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually made a note here that the energy in these games feels a lot higher. Just the pacing, you can kind of tell that these are high-level, high-risk games. Obviously, You lose one of these, you're out of the tournament. So, yeah, it was fast games.
And that's something to be said with GOATs. We're going to get into it, how, I hate to say it, but these teams in the playoffs are making GOATs look exciting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's working out. So that was something I did not expect.
Yeah, overall, I did see in a lot of these games, if you would lose somebody, there was a lot more trying to get an additional pick on the other teams, to even the odds, where a lot of times you'll regroup, but with high stakes, high rewards, going for that pick and maybe turning the fight in your way was game winning or fight winning.
Exactly. But like as far as news, right? So we're not going to really have news for this episode. We're gonna jump straight into things, since we are going to do the playoff matches for ATL Academy and follow them through that with you all. But one thing I want to mention is that we did do a watch party for this event. It was kind of like a trial watch party since we do have the main one coming up. So just a reminder, on February 15th for the opener of Atlanta versus Florida Mayhem, I believe. We are still doing the watch party at Battle and Brew. Everything is set up. I think it starts at 7 and goes till whenever. But yeah, it's going to be, drinks, food, people. And we kind of ran a trial here. And a lot of, a good chunk of the main people came out. So when we watched this, it was like me, Aussie Leo came out, Bear of Twitch, the Atlanta Twitch streamer. Blitz actually came out for the first time. Which is great. He's the founder of the Atlanta Discord community that they handed over to the Atlanta Reign. Payload ATL guys were there. Some representation there. Dante and Travis was the first time I got to meet him, which was awesome to get to talk to him about a couple stuff since we've talked on Twitter. And we had one guy who just pinged us on Twitter where he was like, "Hey, yeah, I'll be there." His name's Will. Chill dude. He's just a player, kind of, fan, long time. Hasn't had much time to play lately. I guess he's doing like school or something like that and has been really busy. And he decided to take a break and come hang out with us, and it was great. Man, he knew his stuff.
Awesome. How many guys did you think, guys and gals, do you think were there just to watch Overwatch? At least 5, 6?
For us, it was about 7. We took a picture. I think it was like 5, 6 or 7 of us. And then there's actually this random woman who heard us making this. We were making a bunch of noise. We were super hyped. She heard us making this noise, and she came over. She's like, "What are you guys watching?" Whatever. Pulled up a chair, sat down, and kind of watched it with us too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think she kind of had the basis of what Overwatch was. Like she probably played a bit or heard about it.
Yeah.
But she watched it with us, and she was getting hype, and she was yelling at the screen, and it was a good time. So that's a sign of things to come.
Absolutely.
And it was definitely a better feeling than like last year when I was sitting at the bar watching it by myself, or having
this crazy guy yelling about. Yeah,
exactly right. So yeah, that was a great time. Things to come. Remember, mark your calendars for that watch party.
Yeah, absolutely.
But outside of that, let's hop into, so we're going to, we did the standings last episode, but now we're into the playoffs. And the playoffs are kind of staggered because how the season starts, where certain regions start later than others. So we're going to go through where everybody is region-wise. So Australia, their playoffs haven't started at all yet, right? They're going to be the last or close to the last ones to start running. So there currently aren't any standings there. We mentioned who's going against who for that first round. In the China region, T1W Esports Club Season 3 for this are the China region champs. So, yeah, they kind of put a beating on everybody.
Just looking at the last couple of weeks, man, they did put some definitely put a lot of wins up on the board for sure.
Exactly. Team Giganti for Europe is your champs. Kind of saw that coming. They were very dominant from the get-go as well. So those aren't two real shockers when it comes to those regions. The finals for Korea is going to be Element Mystic versus Runaway, which is going to be exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game. Yeah, for sure.
That has not started yet. Hasn't been streamed at the moment. North America, we're not going to tell you what happened. We're going to tell you that throughout this episode. That's what we're going over, is the North American playoffs. And then for the Pacific region, you still have the first round games for Hong Kong Attitude versus Grandeur, and then Xavier Esports versus Phoenix. And then the winner of those are going to play in round 2. And currently in round 2 for the Pacific region, we have Cyclone Coupling versus Nova Esports. So those should begin running soon to finish up there. And for South America, we have based tryhards in the formerly Brazil Gaming House. They are currently waiting to see who they're going to face in the finals. And the last round 2 match we have is looking for Team OWL, which we've done an episode on them, versus Up Gaming or UP Gaming. I'm not sure what they call it, to be honest. I should probably check on that. I'm always not sure. But yeah, so that's where we stand for, the current playoff situation. Hong Kong Attitude, man. I'm rooting for you, Clay. I know you want them to...
Dude, I do so bad.
To show up and make it through. The name alone is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of attitude there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to go ahead and hop into the games. So we're going to start with round 1 of the NA playoffs, which was NRG Esports versus ATL Academy. And once again, we're following ATL Academy for these games here. Just to anybody who is thinking about the other teams, we'll get there. We'll talk about it. But, in general, so NRG Esports, the team has been around since the beginning of time, almost, and kind of has their own, preconceived notions from people as far as, how they usually, drop games sometimes, or when they're ahead, they kind of lose that momentum. But one player you do know that's on that team is Smex. Smex was the off-tank, had amazing performance in Worlds last year, and we're in 2019, for Team United Kingdom. He was alongside Fusions, right? Kind of mixing it up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did stand out in this series for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Big plays. And we'll get into that, obviously, but a lot of big plays by Smex.
Exactly. So we start off with a Lijiang Tower here. So we start off with a control map. And, out of the gate, NRG Esports kind of shows up. Atlanta starts off kind of dominating, but then Smex has these 2 huge bombs that kind of take that momentum and swing it in the other direction, and they're able to take that round. And then this leads us into Night Market, where ATL Academy kind of gets their footing back. NRG on this one starts off great again with Stand 1, who's their main tank, getting better shatter opportunities than Gator does. But Smex is continuing to have these multi-kill bombs that are throwing these fights in their favor. Luckily, during the last fight, ATL has this great call. So this is one thing about GOATs that you don't really get to see, is that this innovation or these play calls that kind of change what you expect, because, GOATs, you're supposed to stay together. But here they do this aggressive push into NRG to kind of, because it's like 99, I think like close to like 99-0 here. So it's kind of free for all. So they push very aggressively into NRG. They grab them to keep them from contesting point very early. And then while they do that, Ajax goes around back and starts backcapping, and they can't get to it. Then after this, they follow up with 3 great fights, and they end up stealing the round to kind of keep this going. Did you see this play, Clay?
Yeah, absolutely. It almost looked like NRG was, counting their eggs before they hatch, because they also get pretty equally aggressive. Obviously, if you can push up far enough, you can keep ATL from touching the point at 99%, and you just kind of have an uncontested point. But like you said, that with Goats, you're so used to the whole team being there. It kind of threw him for a loop when obviously an unseen Ajax is contesting the point. They think the whole team's in front of them, and they almost split themselves. One's looking towards the point, the other one's looking up front, and they do lose some guys pretty quickly by being aggressive, ATL being aggressive. And, that kind of set them back, definitely.
Yeah, and this leads us to Gardens, which is the last round. And this one's very close, but NRG does end up taking it, the whole map. So then we move on to Numbani, which Numbani, I always talk about, I'm constantly spouting it on the internet, that Dorado is our home map. Like, it's our home field for this team just because our performance there. But somebody brought up a good point that Numbani is also one of those maps that we do perform very well on. And we show that here. So ATL, on attack, they progress to attack without much resistance. They get a full cap, and they have like 4 minutes remaining, right? And on Numbani, that's kind of unheard of, and one of the most ideal situations you can have. And when NRG starts off, once again, which is something we keep seeing, and we've talked about this multiple times, I think, over our Contenders coverage, where they try going top left with Winston. And, we talked about this with the first generation map, right? Like, I don't understand, and maybe you can shed some light on this or what you think the mindset is, but top left now is not as popular as it used to be when Numbani first was a big thing.
Correct.
But now teams are doing it, with these GOATs set up, but they're doing it with Winston, and it's almost like written in stone that you don't do that. So what do you think pushes them to do that?
The biggest thing that I saw NRG trying to do with the Winston, and I can't speak for every team, but NRG, Stand1 was trying to put a lot of pressure on Dogman and the back line. Just get an early, really quick pick on the Zenyatta, eliminate a ton of DPS, the Discord Orb as well, and some healing. And they were getting him very low. If one of the notes I made was Sugar Free and Dogman play really well together because Sugar Free is constantly looking at Dogman for those armor packs on the brig. And they do get them very low, and I think that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to get a really quick pick, jump over the team, get a lot of pressure on the back line, and hopefully come out with a kill. But, you risk a lot of it because usually ATL is running a Reinhardt, but they were running a Winston as well, so they were are able to get back to Dogman as well. So, I don't know, just get a quick pick, and hopefully that takes the point.
Yeah. That cost, I think, to me, this is probably the biggest cost here because it does eat up a lot of time. Like, even if you're able to pull it off, it will take you more time than if you're using the standard, Rhine to get through. And that shows here. It takes them to like 2 minutes slower because they cap it, but they're 2 minutes slower than ATL, and they're struggling and kind of in a rush to get through the street portion, which is already difficult enough. And this leads to ATL being able to stop them before they even get point 2 because they get kind of sloppy and drop some fights as they're trying to rush that payload through. So, I feel like that plays into it a lot. And we saw the same thing happen with First Generation when they forced it. So don't force the Winston. Don't force the Winston top left. It's written in stone. It's kind of like a thing you should not do.
Yeah, because we see ATL, Gator, starts off on the Rhine on attack, and just the amount of damage that Rhine can put down to a Winston, free shatters. You just don't benefit from the Winston v Rhine. Obviously, ATL ran a Winston as well on defense, but I think that was just almost to combat the aggressive play style of Stand1.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. So that puts us at 1-1 here. And then we move into Hanamura as our third map. And, ATL able to full hold with a May Tracer comp. So the defense we use on Hanamura Point 1 has kind of become, not infamous, but well-known across Contenders, where we run this Bastion May composition. But early on, teams have been picking off that Bastion, and what Saucy is doing is he's swapping a Tracer. And here he does that, and it actually really works out. We have a couple cases throughout the playoffs where we have these comps that are kind of wonky, and they work out for a good while. The funny thing about it is, like, even though they're playing well, NRG is not really adjusting their approach. So when you're dealing with the Bastion, you try to essentially go a long ways around, right? You go through a pagoda, or it's a tower, and you go up the stairs, you go across the bridge, and you come down, and you go to point, right? And that forces that comp, the May Bastion comp, to readjust and reposition. But when you don't have the Bastion anymore, you just need to get on point. Right? Yeah. You're no longer stopped from trying to get through the choke. Just go through the choke and go straight to point, and then contest it and fight there. They don't do that, so they burn a lot of time on that that attempt, and that allows ATL to full hold. And then ATL only needs one tick, and they do that very easily. So that's another map in our favor there to put it at 2-1.
Yeah, this is it is very odd because obviously going into the playoffs, you're going to watch a lot of film, and it's no surprise that ATL runs this on defense on Hanamura. And they do, obviously, they try to run some kind of dive variant. They're not running full goats, but they get Saucy very early on in a fight, and he just comes immediately back as Tracer, and they can't deal with him either. It's almost like they just can't figure out how to get into Hanamura against ATL.
Exactly. And this takes us to Dorado, which is our home field. And, but they actually do really well here. NRG does a great job here. They start off, and they do get stalled multiple times, so we're doing a good job of putting that resistance up to force them to earn this full cap. But they do get a full cap with a few seconds remaining, and that's mainly because Smex is, once again, his D.Va performance is above and beyond. And he's putting them over the top. So he's kind of carrying the load here, and that helps them. And then for us on attack, we do struggle with point 1, but we are able to turn that momentum round after that, and we kind of cruise through the next 2 points and finish with about a minute more than NRG. So we get the bonus time, and we move into round 2. And this allows us to play a very aggressive defense, which we usually do, but it's kind of ingenious here. So, when you're in a goats v. goats situation, you're allowed to play more aggressively because you know that there's not, even though we did do this on the control map, there's not a good chance that they're going to back cap on you, right? Because you need,
Correct.
when you're having these fights, you need everybody to be there. Does that sound ridiculous?
No, it sounds right. I mean, it sounds, you're not going to have somebody just go around. You have to have everyone there. You have to have all 6 of your players to make goats work.
Yeah, and we pushed this round 2 attempt to the final fight for NRG, and then Hawk gets a clutch bomb to kill Byram on his Zen, and that kind of allows us to stop NRG from capping point 1. And then ATL follows up with a solid attack to take the map, and that's us now moving to round 2 of the playoffs. So for the first round, hell of a performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I do want to point out that, like we had said before, Smex, really unconventional D.Va bombs, and that kind of set him apart. I mean, we see Hawk do this as well, but I think that was kind of the only shining light that I saw performance-wise. Obviously, NRG, very good team, but he was really keeping his team alive in a lot of these matches where ATL is just so well-rounded, so much more coordinated as far as playing goats that they just punished NRG, especially when they got to play aggressive, because NRG just could not combat it.
Exactly. So this takes us to our second round of the playoff, where we end up playing XL2 Academy. XL2. What is it? XL2 Gaming? What's the second piece?
XL2,
is it just XL2 now?
It's XL2 Academy.
Oh, it is XL2 Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we end up playing XL2 Academy. And one thing about XL2 is their stack. So for NRG, I think we were favored by most people. Most people that posted said we're going to beat NRG. But XL2 was that they were in the other group during the regular season, and that was something that people said that might be a wall you come up against, because XL2 is technically stacked when you think about them. So they're NYXL's. For those who don't know, they're NYXL's Academy team. So that's New York Excelsior, and they have a bunch of former OWL players. So they have like Tizzy and Wuhall, which were from London Spitfire in the previous season. They have Logics from Florida Mayhem, and then they also have Mangachu from Team Canada in last year's World Cup. So that's a hell of a squad.
It was a hell of a squad for sure.
Oh, yeah, because recently, in recent news, they let a bunch of people go. If you want to look that up, just hop on the forums.
There's all kind of information out
competitive
there.
Reddit forums, they're on there. So we start off here, and one thing that's out of character is we do very well on this control map. So one of the things that's more has been a consistent thing across the Contenders League are the teams that lose the first control map usually end up winning. I don't know why it happens. It's just something that, and we're known for it as well. But here we start off very strong. We dominate on Gardens, which is the first round, and then we go into Command Center, which I consider, like, when it comes to all the individual rounds of control maps, I think Command Center is one of our better ones, and this becomes very important later on. I'll reference it again. But on Command Center here, we usually get first cap, and we do here. We start strong, and XO2 does get a flip, but about like 99%, they just wait and just build alt economy, right? That's one of the benefits of getting first cap, is that you can push that percentage, and then it helps you with alt economy towards the end when you're trying to close it out. And Atlanta's able to take Li Jiang here.
Yeah, the 3 Bash Shatters on one map make you really start to wonder where the communication is, because, man, your Zarya Rhine need to be talking about these kind of things, because the bubbles will save the Rhine. I mean, the Bash, you could stop it with the bubble. They were never there. He just constantly landed them.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and this moves us into Hollywood, which was interesting. And ATL starts on defense here, and they make XL2 work hard for the short distance they're able to cover. And then on attack, ATL is able to only stall a few times before capping and take the map. And it's one of those cases where, there's this one play that was very crucial because I think this is what pushed XL2 into overtime, which was there's this interesting play. So, Zarya's, the right click? Zarya's right click bomb usually does a little boop, right?
Yeah.
But there are cases where if you do it in a corner, it will create a larger boop. And that happens here to Tizzy. And while he's off the ground, Gator has insane quick reaction and gets a clean shatter on pretty much the whole team, right? And that's just something you can't really play around. But it does kind of swing this pressure back in ATL's favor when they do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but overall, there was nothing really special that happened in this, just that ATL kind of made them grind for it. And then on our attempt, we were able to kind of cruise through to take it without much effort.
Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat here, because when they did come back to recontest, kind of towards the end, we were almost at point 3.
Yeah.
They come back, they have a trance, and they're kind of holding it.
Oh, yes, I remember this. Yeah.
And then I think they wipe us at one point, but if you look at the alt economy right going into that, ATL didn't use anything. They pretty much, this was a dry run for them. And they just didn't have, XL2 had no alt going into the last fight, and there was still like a minute and a half left, and the writing was pretty much on the wall at that point. You just hit a couple Qs and you're going to win that fight.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is we move into Lunar Colony here. And this is why us winning Li Jiang and that control map at the beginning actually helped, because the way XL2 plays here is like a whole different team, right? Because they're completely dominant on both attack and defense. And it's one of those cases where, ATL Academy never really gets a chance to sync up. And there's a lot of early picks that lead to the alt economy favoring XL2. And then they hold that throughout. And that's how they take this map. But it's one of those cases if XL2 took that control map and then they won this one, that momentum would be a big deal against us.
Yeah, it's hard going into map 4 with a loss, too, knowing that you're down one.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, so this actually puts us at 2-1. So XL2 takes Lunar Colony, and then we move into our home map again, right? Our home field, which is Dorado, and we got a fairly standard push, but both teams kind of trade fights and win, so on and so forth. But XL2 gets stopped short of point 2 due to Atlanta's aggressive defense style. So this is the same thing that happened against NRG, where once again we do this, like whenever they cap point 1, we do this heavy push into point 2, even though the consensus is that you fight where the card is, because the defense is not favored on spawn point. So it allows you to be closer to the closer the cart is to your spawn point, the more advantage you have. But we're pushing past that, and that pressure is because they can't really go around us to back cap. Like if this was a dive comp, maybe you could send the Genji over there or someone else, but you can't do that here because you need everyone there for the fight.
Yeah, this was another really close one for me. Having almost 4 minutes through the streets of Dorado, you almost assume that they're gonna be able to make it to at least try point 3.
Yeah.
But every fight, Atlanta just does this great target focusing, and then the alt management is unreal. So they're just using 1 or 2 alts per fight. They win, get 1 or 2 alts for the next fight. Just a great management of alts for that last 4 minutes.
Exactly. So we win here, and Atlanta takes it 3-1, and we're in the finals of the North American playoffs, which is insane.
Absolutely.
People kind of doubted us being able to beat XL2 here, and we do it handily, to be honest. And another person who's no longer there is Logic's no longer on XO2, which was just announced today. So he's now looking for a team. So things like that. A lot of teams kind of disbanding here after this season.
Yeah, after reading just Reddit throughout the week going into the playoffs, just some of the predictions, a lot of people are saying XL2 going into this, and it felt good. This one proved those guys wrong for sure.
It felt good. It felt like we earned it, and we just didn't kind of fluke our way through the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we get into the finals. So we made it here, which is Fusion University, the former champs for both seasons of Contenders, versus ATL Academy. So obviously it's already a joy to be here, because a lot of people didn't think we would be, but we are. And just a warning: this match is long, so we're gonna take our time and kind of dig through this, because there's a lot that happens, and we want to make sure we kind of put that all out there so you can understand the reasons things happened, and what missed opportunities were there that weren't taken advantage of, and what kind of separates champs from second place, right? It's funny.
Absolutely.
People talk about, kind of go traditional sports about the Patriots, right? And the advantage the Patriots have is that, obviously they're good and their coaching staff is insane, as well as the players, and they have the structure of that team, that kind of formula. But they also have the playoff experience, where I think Bill Belichick has like over 40 games now in the playoffs, which is like more than 2 seasons worth or something like that, which is
unreal.
Yeah, that's unreal. So that means that when you're used to being in that spot, it plays a factor into everything else.
It definitely eliminates a ton of pressure, and I really thought you were going to say it helped having the other team's playbook, but all jokes aside, right. The experience. You have to
deflate the ball a bit too. That helps, but it's just like.
What do you think's more? What do you think's better, having the playbook or the experience? Which one's more beneficial in that experience?
You know what? It's funny you mentioned the playbook, because Fusion University, they have to study Atlanta Academy. Like, that's part of the part you can see the respect, because a lot of their calls, you have to know what we're going to do and know how we play. And I think they studied a lot of ATL film compared to any other team. I guarantee.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They were definitely they did their homework coming into this one for sure.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So we start off here with Control, Lijiang Tower. And, we're not usually good on Control starts, and that kind of shows here. We start with Night Market, and, Fusion University is completely in control of this round. It's not really a contest. And then we move into Gardens, where, ATL has a much better start. So this is something that we played Fusion University, take a little step back, in the regular season. And that was a case where there's a lot of learning to do from that loss. And part of it was this. So there's a point where you have Snilio on Sombra and Neist on Pharah. And this comp gives a lot of teams trouble, especially us. And it's kind of like a goats buster in a way at this level in Contenders. And the way we deal with that is Dogman swaps off of Zenyatta and swaps to Moira, which is great, right? Because just some mechanic stuff, Moira, and call me out on this if I'm wrong, Clay. Moira, she kind of solves both problems in a way. She allows you more, livability, or if that's even a word, survivability. Sure. And when she's hacked, you don't really take anything away from her except her ball. So she can still suck life and she can still heal. That's something that with Zenyatta, yes, he can still throw his orbs and he can still do that, but he can't discord, right? And then his life is 75% less.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right? Especially when he during EMP for sure.
Yeah.
The survivability has definitely got to be the biggest part of it. Especially because on this map you're in such a small room. Mm-hmm. She can also, and you think, if they have a fair, Discord's obviously very good, and Zenyatta can also shoot at her in the sky. But when you're this close, Zenyatta's more of a target because he is so easy to pinpoint in Pharah. That's a lot of the times when I play Pharah, that's what I look for, because he doesn't move fast. His hitbox is relatively easier to hit than Moira, because obviously she moves a little bit quicker. She moves, obviously shift in and out. I like the call for sure, and it definitely showed here that it was the right call. Yeah,
and even since her buff, we got to mention that since Pharah was buffed, it made it even more difficult as a Zenyatta player to deal with that. So the combination of the two, and then two players that play both those characters very well. I would say that's pretty much their specialist characters there. But Fusion University here is able to actually flip it at 99%, and for some reason we're unable to close it out. I think we get kind of antsy, and this becomes a case as we move forward through other games where we see that we're so close, and it's almost like you probably do this on ladder as well. We're like, hey, we just gotta win one fight. We just gotta win one fight, right? And you end up just making these tiny mistakes that the other team takes advantage of, and you never get that one fight. And the team ends up winning 3 in a row, and then they flip it and they win. Yeah.
Yep. Percentage goes up. You get even more. The anxiety kicks up a little bit, and you're like, all right, what are we doing wrong? What are we trying to? This is a hard one because it seemed like after we dominated the Farah Mercy Sombra picks, they switched over to goats and were so far behind on alt economy that we're like, oh, this is easy. We just close this out. But just a few fights it just went wrong. With Sugar Free at one point rallied, which was the perfect thing to do, but just little time. I mean, it's not even mistakes, but like somebody gets shattered right after that, and you lose that alt, and then it just turns into kind of a snowball effect. You just lose fight after fight. Yeah,
it was insane to watch. And I mentioned Command Center previously because Fusion University does win this, and they close out the 2-0 to take Lijiang Tower from both those rounds. And if we would have pushed this, so say we win Gardens, Command Center is the variant that we do the best on of the rounds. So that would have actually gave us a chance to close it out, and I think we would have had the advantage there. And that's just like one of the few missed opportunities throughout this that we'll see that kind of leads to the outcome. So Fusion University takes Lijiang. We move into Numbani, and this once again is a favored map for us. I don't call it our home field. Some people do. I still think Dorado's a better map for us, but we'll get there. So, it starts out with we do protect the McCree, which is something we've done here before. For those who aren't familiar with that comp, you essentially have a dive goat space, right? So you have Diva, Winston, Zarya, all that, but then you have McCree. And the whole goal is to create enough disruption and to be able to also peel for the McCree as he does his thing. This allows you to deal with Pharahs and stuff like that, right? Which we expect because on Numbani, Fusion University do like to go that Farah Sombra combo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go
ahead.
No, there you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it was really difficult too because I don't know, for some reason, Gator obviously he's on the Winston to kind of patrol the high grounds, and he was making a ton of space for Saucy on the McCree. But it also left Gator a little open because Hawk was also on the Farah duty, alongside Saucy. So Gator was left alone a little bit on the first couple pushes. And if you notice in the kill feed that they did really good target focusing. They realized that he was pretty much alone. He had no Diva backup, and they do take advantage of that for sure.
Yeah. So, Atlanta's able to actually get 2 ticks on attack here very quickly because this is just poor awareness from Fusion University, and this helps us here. And this kind of leads to us being able to full cap after a bunch of huge shatters from Gator.
Yeah, the shatters were huge.
Yeah, Gator kind of did a great setting those up. And then our defense on point 1 was amazing. I almost thought we were just going to stop them until, it's not so much a mistake. And that's what I want to say is like, it was a fight in which the timing from Fusion University was so tight and on point. So there's a point where Gator has Primal. So essentially, we also have other ults as well. They time him really well. But then he gets pinned, gets Discord immediately, and picked off. So if anybody's ever been in that situation, you don't have time to pop Primal. It's just not going to happen.
No, just too much damage going through.
Yeah, you just get to lead it, essentially. And that allows them to cap the point. And they kind of cruise throughout to point 2, and it kind of happens again where you get this back and forth where, okay, now we just have to stop him, right? It's overtime, whatever, but the ults don't line up. I think Saucy gets a grab, but we're not able to follow up on it, and then they get a counter grab, and there's a bomb from a burner, I believe, and it's just it's a mess, and they end up capping point 2. But then we finally do get to stop them before point 3. We hold it, and then we end up tying it up by taking this map. So now it's 1-1, right?
Yeah, it was huge for Sugar Free. Definitely at the end there where Hawk this is like down to the very wire. They're about to push it in, and Hawk just sends out a bomb, this unconventional non-combo bomb. Sugar-Free sees the opening, puts the bash down on the Rhine, who is pretty much the only way to stop this thing from hitting his team, sees the perfect opportunity, and it opens it up to where his team gets bombed, and that pretty much sealed the deal from them able to full cap.
Yeah. So then we move into Hanamura. And this map, listen, all these maps, and this is one thing I mentioned, is that, during this watch party, there's one thing I didn't understand is, when you're with a bunch of people, it's fun, it's more exciting, but you share each other's stress as you watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're getting just as drained as we can only imagine these. Like, it's hard enough watching it, but to see it happen is just draining. So we move into our third map here, which is Hanamura. And, I want to talk about point one. So I have this idea where our point one, we talked about this in the previous game as well, where point one, we like to run this Mei Bastion combo. But as part of that combo, we also run Dogman on Ana, right? And I'm not really sure what purpose, I guess I kind of figure what purpose Ana serves, because you have that heal grenade, or jar piss or whatever people call it, that will help because your only other healer is broken, right?
Right.
So I get that part. But I feel like the res from Mercy helps a lot there, and then you can still get the benefits of Bastion because you can boost Bastion, you can keep him up, and then you can res if you need to because you have enough disruption between Diva, Winston, Mei, and Brogan to get those heals, those reses off. So the value is almost always there. And then you have Valkyrie, right? When you can pop that, you'll build that faster. And you don't really have, for Ana, you don't really have a very effective use for your nano, right? So besides like Winston maybe to help him build primal. So in my mind, every time I see this comp, I'm like, try it with Mercy. Maybe they have, but what do you think, Clay?
The biggest benefit that I think that you get out of Ana is just the fact that burst damage is so big when you're trying to go against this. We see a lot of people play Hanzo, Genji, just these big, just big amounts of damage really quickly. And Ana, a little bit better at that. The Mercy healing, just not quick enough a lot of the times. The res is, very beneficial. A little slow. If you ever lose a Bastion, they're gonna be on top of your Mercy.
Okay.
And then the anti-grenade. Because you also got to think that they're either going to do one of two things. They're going to go around, they're going to fixate themselves on the point, make you come to them, or they're going to dive on you. So if they dive on you, an anti-grenade just wins the fight a lot of the times.
Okay, I can understand that. That makes sense. So then, we get rolled over on point one, actually, because they expect it. I think every team at now expects it, and I wonder if that will change in the future. We'll see what Season 4 has in store. But we are able to stonewall them on point two, which is amazing. So they put us in this weird situation. So whenever Fusion University beats us on point one, they hard rush point two, which is what you do on 2CP, right? But they do it very well here. And what this leaves us with is we're never really able to swap, so we still have Sugar-Free on that Mei. And he also has Blizzard. So it's almost like, hey, let's just get the Blizzard off and then swap, right? It doesn't turn out that way. Because it turns out the walls are very clutch on this part of the map because everything is through a corridor. So as long as you can figure out the position of the opponent and where they're going, you can almost always swing the fight in your advantage if you have a great wall, right? Oh, wow. Can't believe I just said that. A great wall, yeah. And that's what Sugar-Free does here. Sorry.
I was just saying, it seemed like Fusion just never made it into any part of the second point without losing one person, right? A wall would cut somebody off, or there would be a pick that came up, and it was like 6 minutes of this. Yeah. It was pretty cool to watch, actually.
Yeah, and once again, we have this final fight situation where this is probably one of the best finals. I don't know. This is probably one of the best matches of Overwatch, like overall I've watched. Especially, this is all taking place with goats, and it's still super exciting. This
Absolutely.
Late in the cycle, right? So we drop a fight here at the end, and it's mainly because we fail to kind of clean up the remaining people of Fusion University. But then reinforcements come back, and Alarm goes absolutely on a rampage. Like, he comes in, and I think he 2 orbs kills Dogman, and then 2 orb kills Ajax. And then Gator comes back on Winston with 80% health, and he hits every last one of his volleys while he's midair.
Yeah.
And then hits
just a lot of free space, too, to work with.
It was insane to watch. So that's a case where, there's been talks right now that Alarm, everybody's just watching their calendar, waiting for him to turn 18. because
Yeah,
some team's
absolutely.
going to pick him up. It's just a case where he's young, right? He's 17. So because he's been crushing it, he's been performing like this ever since he's been in Contenders. So he'll definitely get his time in the spotlight in the Overwatch League, and people are waiting. But this shows you, like, sometimes it's not about the receiving team and them playing poorly. It's just about getting kind of wrecked here.
Yeah.
So what this leads to is, we go on attack, and we struggle on point one. But, because we start off with dive, which was a great call. We just don't execute it well. We end up switching back to traditional goats. We get the push close to overtime, and then we roll point two, which allows us to have a time bank, which Fusion University didn't since they capped in overtime. So you get either a win or a draw here, which is a great position to be in. But this takes us to round two. So did you have anything to say about like our attack or anything?
No, the attack looked
Yeah.
good. I mean, yeah, like you said, the dive just seemed like not enough practice going into it. It seems good going into what could be some kind of setup where you would need dive, but yeah, it just seemed a little bit out of their element. It switched right up back over the goats, and they took the point. So that was pretty much the biggest thing.
Yeah, so we move into round two, and Snilio goes Ash, and everybody's like, wait, what? And he goes on an absolute rampage. So it's a case, and Clay can talk about this, just how Ash is so useful here, but we never really check him. We kind of do this thing where we keep just trying to do the same thing. It's like, hey, we can just ignore him and move forward. But not only are we leaving him free, he's performing. I think there's a case where he lands four, and you could probably double check on this. He lands four-person dynamite explosions, which is a ton of damage. And he's able to build Bob super quick, and that comes into play later on. But it's a nightmare because he's essentially just one man showing us.
Yeah, he is definitely pinpointing ATL supports just in the back because he just finds the head so easily, and it just is so elusive because he just uses his shotgun to just maneuver himself around the top edge there or into the back of the point. Yeah, he's slippery on the Ash on the point one for sure.
Exactly. I don't know if it's I don't really have a map of the match here because all these maps are just insane play wise from both teams. But if you had to watch one clip, go find this clip and watch him play, because that might be something, a sign of things to see in the future from Ash players down the road.
Yeah,
'Cause,
absolutely.
That's highlight central. People who miss like Genji performances, without Blade and stuff like that. This is kind of gave you the same feeling of that, and like when Widows would pop off, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this led to a draw, which we did not want, because this should have been an
not
easy
good
win.
for us here. Yep.
We move into Route 66 now, which is a map we fare kind of even on. We lose some here, we win some here, and we get Fusion University using this quad DPS, which we've seen before from other teams, and they've done it a couple times against us. And that comp is Hanzo Sombra, Pharah, Soldier, Ana, and Orisa. And we do have the Hanzo swapping to Tracer later on to try to keep it going, which doesn't work out. So they end up switching to Goats anyways, right? But there's a part where we pretty much have this hold complete, and Gator gets a little too antsy with a shatter. It gets blocked, and they immediately flip it and pick him off. He gets bash charged, and then they flip the fight, and they're able to move that through. And then we force another fight before they cap, which a lot of people are saying they should just let them cap and then follow up because you don't give them that ult economy. And then this leads to a whole slew of nonsense down the road. What do you think about that whole situation?
Yeah, it's always an overtime, right? And this happens a lot on ladder too. You're like, oh, this is easy. We've held them to this point, and then overtime comes. You get a little bit confident, and you're a little bit loose as well. That you just kind of, I don't know, you kind of let back a little bit. And I don't know, I like them taking that second fight. It did force a little bit of vaults out of Fusion University to kind of use the shatter. They used a support ult as well. I don't know. I like taking that fight, and I know ATL is very aggressive, and they do win those fights sometimes. So, go for it. I liked it.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I thought we had this when Snillo, spends 2 minutes on Soldier, gets his visor, gets the, uses his visor, and all ATL does is back up into this little cave, get behind the shield, and it's like it never happened. It was a great move by ATL for sure.
Yeah, some great plays here. I've done that on ladder before too, where it's like, oh, we got this, and like I burn nano too early or do something crazy that I wouldn't normally do in a fight situation like that.
Yep, a little overconfident for sure.
But So this leads to Fusion University after that fight. They cruise through point 1 and 2, but we do get them to cap in overtime, although it is payload, so they will still get time left, right? Or get time added to the clock. So in round 2, they're able to get it halfway through town in overtime because they do very well in the first initial fights, and we're not able to match it, so they take the map. Or sorry, we are able to match it, which kind of makes up for everything in the long run. It's kind of similar to Numbani, where we drop all these early opportunities to kind of sweep, but then, we pick it up and we end up winning it out anyways. So this actually puts us up 2-1.
Yeah, I was going to say, Hawk really surprised me with this this bomb at the very end. He not only just throws his bomb up, catching somebody off guard, the Zenyatta, but he also sniffs out the Sombra almost immediately, and it almost puts the Sombra where he has to translocate and then come back to the team and try to EMP. It really put the Sombra out of place. Great move.
Yeah. So we're up 2-1, and we still have that draw too. And now we're going to Busan, which is a control map. We're not great here, especially against Fusion University, and they show us up. Fusion University is just dominant again out the gate. And the theme of this match, which people were talked about, was that Ajax gets killed during almost all his beats, throughout the match. At least 3. Yeah. So this is the first one he gets killed during the beat animation, which is very important in this fight. Fusion University ended up taking that in downtown, and we moved to Mecha Base for the next round, and he has not 1 but 2 beats. I think both of the ones he had the whole game killed during activation, which, to the point, it stopped seeming like it was an accident, and it seemed like they were getting ready to switch to him for that specific purpose, just because of the way the fights were set up.
Yeah, just a good target focusing, and I think a lot of the fights that he probably wouldn't normally use beats, they were just getting so pressured that he almost had to. Even it seemed out of place.
It's like forced.
Yeah, right.
Because you force someone into making a decision, you kind of anticipate that they're going to make the decision.
Correct.
That makes sense. But yeah, so the other part of it was nice on May here on Mecha Base is a problem. We don't really deal with him at all. There's one fight that we start off with 2 kills, but because we kind of ignore his existence, he just cleans it up, and they end up keep building percentage off of that. So things like that kind of falling apart, and I think this is where the fatigue starting to set in. These are a lot of games. I mean, I've played a lot of games on ladder, and people ladder all the time, whatever. But when it comes to a high intensity final situation like this, you're playing this many games outside of the norm. It can wear on teams who haven't been there before, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, what are we talking? This is Busan Map 5. And
it's first to 4, by the way.
Yeah.
So you have to win 4 games.
And and you're not playing map after map. There's downtime in between this, which I don't think favors Atlanta at all, just because they want to keep the ball rolling. They're an aggressive team. They want to just keep going. And, I mean, this is like a 3-hour almost a 3-hour game, a long series of maps.
Yeah, we're a momentum team for sure. So we move into Hollywood, and this is, like we said, this is where ATL seems gassed. This attempt is kind of hard to watch because it seems like they're just doing the same thing over and over again. And once Fusion University stops it 2 times, the alt economy is in their favor, and they just hold, without any trouble. They hold us.
Right.
On attack, they do something interesting as well. So this is something. So recently, Jane's been ran a pro pug event. Invited a bunch of pugs, did kind of like a captain pick your player style, and built these teams. And in one of those games, Surefour, his team, let him go Symmetra. This is on the new patch, granted. Let him go Symmetra and kept the GOATs comp. And it worked. They did it on King's Row. And people were like, wait, what the hell is going on? This is kind of super weird, right? But yeah, and that's something they do here, which matched. I wonder if they took that inspiration from that, or if this is just something that's been floating around in the pro community, or if they're, they tried it as preparing for the next patch kind of stuff.
Yeah, because it almost does not work.
It almost does not work. Yeah, I thought they were going to give us.
They come down to the wire on this one.
I thought they were going to give us a free one here, but at the end, they were able to split the healers away from the rest of the team for Atlanta and just take the quick cap.
I could not imagine 2 draws in this best of 4 series.
Oh, goodness, man.
It's a long
I don't think
game.
it's ever happened, right?
It's like playing cricket,
Actually,
3 days.
It did
long
happen
or
once,
something.
right? For the runaway game, if I remember correctly.
2 draws,
they went to 8
yes,
games,
you're right.
So this has been the second time in history it happened.
Yeah, that's insane.
So yeah, they Fusion takes that handily, and then we move into Dorado. And, once again, it's our home field. But at this point, I was not feeling too confident. And immediately out the gate, Bernard and Alarm come out, just popping off. And they hold Atlanta to a spot short of point one, which ironically is the spot we usually hold teams to.
Right. This looked like a kind of a flip of what usually happens.
Yeah, and then on attack, Fusion University, they win the only fight they need to win, and then they move it through. And they're your 3-time North American champs.
Just still a great game overall. I think that Atlanta performed really well. But yeah, a little fatigue, I'm sure, set in, and mistakes happen when you're tired.
Exactly. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, and they might not even just be mistakes. I mean, Fusion's obviously a very good team as well. So it's just they performed very well as well.
Yeah, you understand. They've been together longer. Atlanta is, for all intents and purposes, a new team. Yeah, they were from, late night leftovers, and Gator played on GOATs and all that stuff. Dogman's been around forever. But as far as chemistry, and in a meta that requires the utmost chemistry, because, that play for GOATs, in order to be the best GOATs team, you have to have that synergy.
Yeah, we watched a ton of teams try to play GOATs this season, and try to play it against Atlanta and Fusion University, and just not perform near as well.
Yeah, there were a lot of bad ones. So that all that be said, great job, Atlanta Academy. Props to Fusion University for first. That's huge. 3-peat. I mean, you guys are talk about reigning champions, but for Atlanta Academy to show up, and for a lot of people not to know what to expect with this combination, considering we have probably some of the youngest players in the league on that team, to withstand that pressure and to move all the way through, that's beyond a standard feat. So hell of a first season. All the fans were hype. I don't think anybody was down on them at all.
Absolutely. Performed very well, not only in the finals here, but throughout the entire season.
It was
for
quite
sure.
the experience. So all that being said, you guys can reach us at Gmail, at thebirdwatcherspodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, we're at thebirdwatcher. That's Watcher spelled WATCH3R. We're on Facebook, YouTube, competitive Reddit. If you haven't joined, join now. And Instagram. So, reach out. It's crazy to see people actually, reaching out in the community and coming to the events now. Or even when, we'll have, myself, Leo, and Bear will go watch a game, and somebody say, hey, I'm going to come through too. It's just come through, shake their hand, and then next game they'll be there and stuff like that. So, it's definitely cool to meet up with people and kind of see this whole thing coming together. Because there's a lot of communities out there. Florida Mayhem has theirs. You have the 5 Deadly Venoms for NYXL. LA Valiant has theirs. Gladiators has theirs. Everybody's doing it. So props to all the communities out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be awesome going into Overwatch League Season 2. I only expect the Atlanta community to get bigger, too.
We're going to take over.
I'm excited to see it. Yeah, absolutely.
That being said, thanks for listening, guys. Until next time. Oh, actually, wait. What we'll be doing next. So we have a couple weeks before the season starts. And in that time frame, what we'll do is we'll actually go through and pick some of these other playoff matches or these finals that are happening, since some of them haven't finished yet. I know we're interested in looking like the Australia one as well and stuff like that. So, yeah, We'll be putting those specials up. So it'll no longer be week to week. We're just going to pick one and do those as specials to cover. So that keep an eye out for that coming down the pipeline.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. Until next time.
Yeah, thank you.